It was 6 in the morning when I, Aidan Brody, a former journalist turned aspiring writer, opened the door to my solitary home deep in the Adirondack Mountains. I stepped out onto my porch in a worn flannel shirt and tattered shoes, yawning, dreaming of strong coffee to wake me up in my self-imposed wilderness. Then I froze. Just a few steps away stood a massive black bear, its presence filling the entire space, making the air heavy and still. The animal didn't move, didn't roar, showed no aggression. It simply stood there, panting, its body trembling, its fur matted and damp, as if it had just emerged from a raging river or fought a hard battle. What struck me most were the bear's eyes, dark, moist, almost human-like, as if tears were streaming down its face. I had never witnessed a wild animal truly weep in my life. This scene pierced my heart, making me forget my fear of this powerful creature that could shatter my skull with a single swipe. Only then did I notice the beast carrying a lifeless bear cub in its mouth. The cub's limbs hung limp, its head lolling to one side, showing no signs of life, like a rag doll. In that moment, I realized this wasn't just a bear, this was a mother bear with her dying cub. I wanted to reach for the old gun hanging on my kitchen wall, but something in the bear's behavior, that silent maternal despair, stopped me. This wasn't a threat, this was a mother standing on the threshold of tragedy. My heart pounded as I slowly backed away, never taking my eyes off the mother bear. To my surprise, she followed me cautiously and placed her cub directly on my wooden porch. Then she stepped back, sat on her hind legs, and stared at me intently, as if waiting for something. Ignoring all my instincts for self-preservation, I knelt before the motionless cub.
Don't worry, buddy.
It was small,
We'll get you
about
some
the
help.
size of a cocker spaniel, with prominent ribs and dried blood on one ear. Just when I thought he was dead, his chest barely trembled. I looked up at the bear. Before I could think, the words slipped out. I'll try my best, okay? I'll try to help him. The bear remained motionless, as if she understood every word. I carefully wrapped the trembling cub in my flannel shirt and retreated into the house. The bear simply sat quietly outside, watching. Inside, I placed the cub on the sofa and frantically gathered everything I could: towels, heating pads, water bottles. The mother bear remained outside, a motionless shadow watching my house. The cub felt cold and soft, but he hadn't crossed the final line. I stood there thinking, what am I gonna do now? This wasn't just a strange encounter. Something had chosen me, and the bear seemed ready to trust me. I knelt down and placed 2 fingers on the cub's tiny ribs. I sensed nothing at first. Then his chest rose subtly, weak but real breathing. You're alive, baby. You're still with us. I found an old heater and turned it on full blast, creating a warm nest with blankets and towels. Upon closer inspection, his hind legs seemed stiff, possibly broken or paralyzed. There was a blood clot around one ear. Something serious had happened to this cub. I looked outside. The mother bear still sat like an ancient statue, patiently watching. I called the nearest veterinarian, Rachel Kowalski. Rachel, this is Aidan. I have an injured bear cub at home. His mother brought him to me and is still waiting outside. After a long pause, she said, Aidan, are you sure you haven't had too much to drink? I'm serious. What can I do to save him? She sighed and gave instructions. Warm him up, check for bleeding, don't give solid food, only liquids. Make a honey water solution and feed it drop by drop. I'll call Ginny from the Wildlife Center. We'll be there soon. I mixed honey with warm water and used a dropper to feed the cub. At first, no reaction. Then his tongue moved slightly. That's it, keep going, little soldier. I sat beside him for an hour, talking, singing, sometimes cursing in exhaustion. The mother bear looked up when I opened the door, met my gaze, then looked down again. By noon, the cub moved its paw for the first time. I breathed a sigh of relief, tears streaming down my face. The wound on his paw was bleeding again. It looked like a bite mark, swollen, red, infected. I applied hydrogen peroxide carefully. The bear recoiled. The reaction to pain meant he was still fighting. I opened the door and whispered to the mother, "He's still with us, weak but holding on." She took a deep breath, as if she understood. Rachel called back, "Ginny's coming with medicine. Keep him warm, hydrated, and don't leave the door open. That mother won't stay calm forever." Hours passed. The cub became more active, trying to roll over. He made a strange sound, like a broken toy slowly coming back to life. As evening fell, a small miracle occurred. The cub opened one eye and looked me directly. No wildness or fear, only consciousness. "You're not alone anymore, baby," I whispered. When Rachel and Ginny arrived at sunset, the mother bear had retreated into the forest shadows, but hadn't left. "My God, you're not kidding," Rachel gasped. Ginny examined the cub professionally. "These are bite marks from an adult male. Male bears sometimes kill cubs so females will go into estrus again. This mother saved him and brought him to you. Amazing she chose a person." The thought chilled me. A wild animal had evaluated me before entrusting her most precious possession to me. Ginny and Rachel spent hours cleaning wounds, administering antibiotics, and hydrating the cub. When they left, he was breathing much better, his paws professionally bandaged. "We're leaving medication and instructions," Ginny said. "But once he's healed, you must release him. He can't stay forever, Aiden." I nodded, though I was growing attached to the little creature fighting for life. Over the next 2 weeks, the cub recovered remarkably. His wounds healed, his appetite returned, and he began exploring my home with curiosity and confidence. I named him Baxter, even though I knew I shouldn't name a wild animal destined to return to the forest. The mother bear came every day, sometimes approaching the house, more often keeping her distance, always watching. I left her food. Sometimes she accepted it, sometimes she ignored it, as if not wanting to depend on human help. One day, when Baxter was confidently walking around, playing, even trying to climb furniture, Deputy Sheriff Louise Gentry visited. "Aiden, I've heard you have a bear cub and its mother has settled on your property," she said. "You're lucky no one was hurt, but the Wildlife Service knows and plans to pick up the cub in 3 days, possibly relocate the mother. I can postpone it, but you have to decide." That night, I couldn't sleep, watching Baxter curled up in his blanket. So cozy, so safe, but wrong for a wild animal. I couldn't keep him forever, couldn't raise him as a pet, couldn't deprive him of his chance to be free. But the thought of separation caused physical pain. The next morning, I made my decision. I didn't wait for the conservation agency. I carefully placed Baxter in a large container lined with his familiar blanket, his favorite toy, an old tennis ball, and some food. I drove into the forest, toward what I thought might be the bear's den. I drove slowly along the forest road until I reached a clearing surrounded by dense spruce trees. I got out, opened the container. Baxter looked out, blinking in bright light, sniffing the familiar forest scent. This is your real home, baby," I said, my throat tight. Baxter hesitated, took a few steps, stopped, and looked at me, as if asking why we were there. Then we heard a branch snap. The mother bear stood at the clearing's edge, wary but not aggressive. Our eyes met, and I saw again that strange trust from the first day. I backed away slowly, indicating no threat. I was releasing her cub, returning him to his world. Baxter froze, looking between me and his mother, torn between two worlds, between human warmth and the call of the wild. The mother made a quiet sound, between a growl and a purr. The cub turned to her, hesitated, took a few steps, stopped, then a few more. Just as they were about to touch noses, Baxter suddenly turned and ran back to me, burying his face in my lap, saying goodbye or thank you. I could never be sure. I sat down and stroked his fur one last time. Brave boy, live your life. You can handle it. Then I gently nudged him toward the mother. This time he didn't hesitate, leaping to her side. She sniffed him carefully, making sure he was safe and sound. Then something unexpected happened. The mother bear raised her head, looked directly at me, and to my surprise, tilted her head slightly in what seemed like a nod. Then she turned and strolled into the forest, leading her cub. Baxter glanced back once before disappearing forever into the woods. I stood in the clearing for a long time, feeling a strange mixture of pain and satisfaction, loss and rightness, as if I had finished a chapter of a book I never intended to write, a book that changed me forever. I returned to my empty cabin, too quiet without the brown whirlwind that had filled it with life. I gathered Baxter's blankets, toys, and bowls, placing them in a box in the attic. I couldn't part with them. Months passed. I returned to writing, walking the forest, enjoying solitude. But sometimes at dusk, I'd take tea to the porch and gaze at the forest's edge, knowing somewhere a little bear lived who once slept on my sofa. One autumn morning, I found a gift on my porch, a handful of ripe wild berries, neatly stacked. No one was around, but I knew who left them. I smiled, watching shadows flicker in the forest, perhaps light, or perhaps mother and cub saying they remembered. They were all right, that boundaries between our worlds are thinner than we imagine. Every autumn since, I find little gifts. Berries, pine cones, once a beautiful rock. As if someone says, we're here, we remember, we're grateful. The most important encounters happen without warning. The deepest connections form unexpectedly. When tourists ask about the wooden bear sculpture on my shelf, I say it's a souvenir from the Adirondacks. But it means more. A reminder my home briefly became wildlife refuge, that I guarded someone else's life before returning it to its rightful owner, the endless forest and the mother who never stopped waiting. The end.